History Garden's AP World History Review. This time we're going to be doing a final review for the AP World History Modern exam. So whether you're watching this and cramming the night before, or you're reinforcing what you've learned, we've got you covered. We'll go through the most tested topics, major themes, essential strategies, and help you ace that AP exam. So grab a notebook, sit back, and let's dive in. So, we are going to go through a unit-by-unit review with key facts and themes. I'm going to give you guys some memory tricks to help you recall information quickly, and then go over some test-taking strategies to help maximize your score. We'll also discuss a little bit on how to tackle multiple choice questions, SAQs, DBQs, and LEQs. So let's get started. Unit 1 is the global tapestry from 1200 CE to 1450 CE. This period is all about the major civilizations before European exploration. Think of it as setting the stage for what's to come. Our key civilizations and themes are as follows. You've got China and the Song Dynasty, which you should know things like Confucianism, the bureaucracy, economic prosperity, so things like champa rice and the Grand Canal. Next, you have Dar al-Islam, so these are going to be things like the Abbasid Caliphate. So from the Abbasid Caliphate, you should understand cultural and technological diffusion that's happening in this empire, and key things like the House of Wisdom. In South and Southeast Asia, we have Hinduism and Buddhism. You should understand some fundamentals of that, and the spreading through the Silk Road. You also should know a little bit about the Vijayanagara Empire. In the Americas, you have the Aztecs and Incas, and from there you should understand the Mita system in the Inca Empire and how human sacrifices are being used in both. In Africa, we have the Mali Empire and Mansa Musa, as well as the gold and salt trade. Some quick memory tricks for these for this unit. Think Big Champ, BIGCHAMP. So your big is going to be your bureaucracy, Islam's expansion, and the Grand Canal. Champ is going to be those cultural pieces, so things like Confucianism, Hinduism, Buddhism in Asia, A for Aztecs, Inca, Mali for the Mali Empire, and P, prosperity and change. Again, if you want to go a little bit deeper on some of these topics, check out the AP World History Unit 1 Deep Dives playlist. There's a little bit more information on everything that I just talked about for Unit 1. Unit 2 is networks of exchange, that is 1200 to 1450. So this is the trade routes that are going to dominate this period, spreading goods, ideas, and diseases. So this is going to be things like the Silk Road, Indian Ocean trade, and the Trans-Sahara trade. With the Silk Road, this is the movement of luxury goods like silk and porcelain over land from China to the Middle East and into Europe. Then the Mongol Empire is going to have made this trade safer. So this is the Pax Mongolica. You have the Indian Ocean trade. So these are bulk goods and spices. So you should also know about the monsoon winds, as well as the importance of the Swahili coast cities. Next is the Trans-Saharan trade, and this is gold and salt. Trade in Africa, and the importance of camels, and you should also know the importance of Mansa Musa's pilgrimage from Mali to Mecca. There's also some effects that are going to take place because of these trade routes. These things are cultural diffusion, the spread of Islam, and the Black Death. As a quick memory trip for this period, think SIT, S-I-T, so Silk Road, Indian trade, and Trans-Sahara trade. Again, if you want a little bit more information on these, please review that first video that I have for Unit 2, as well as the Unit 2 Deep Dive playlist. For Units 3 and 4, these are land and maritime empires from 1450 to 1750. This is where we see the rise of gunpowder empires and global maritime trade. In these, we are going to see the empires of the Ottoman, the Safavid, and the Mughal. So we're going to see the importance of gunpowder weapons, the rise of Islamic rulers, and religious policies. European maritime empires are going to be Portugal, Spain, Britain, France, and the Dutch. And then we're going to see the rise of the Columbian exchange, right? Because European nations have now ran into North America. And for the Columbian exchange, you should know the crops. Important crops like potatoes and maize coming from the New World, going to the Old World. Diseases, so smallpox coming from Old World to New World. And then we're going to see the creation and use of chattel slavery. So you should know about the Middle Passage. Again, check out those Unit 3 and 4 videos, overviews, as well as the Unit 3 and 4 deep dive playlists that should be on the channel. For this, think the 3 G's: gold, God, glory. Glory is the power that taking in power and land. Gold, right, is that economic motivation to get more stuff and things to make more money dollars. And God, that spread of Christianity. Unit 5 is revolutions from 1750 to 1900. This unit is all about political, industrial, and social revolutions. Our major revolutions that take place are the American, French, Haitian, and Latin American revolutions. We're also going to see nationalist movements take place in Europe in the late 1800s. This is going to be the birth of the Enlightenment and the use of Enlightenment ideas. Really, your two big main ones are going to be John Locke, and he's all about natural rights. Again, please go visit that deep dive on John Locke and his ideas. And then you also have Jean-Jacques Rousseau and his ideas on the social contract. We're also going to talk about, it's also going to cover the Industrial Revolution. And with the Industrial Revolution, you need to understand why Britain matters for that springboard of industrialism in this period. Britain matters because of the abundance of coal, the abundance of a labor system, and they have a stable government at the time, right? The Industrial Revolution's happening in that mid-late 1800 period. You've got chaos happening on the continent because of revolutions that have taken place or those national movements that are taking place. So Britain is stable. This is why it's important. You should also understand the effects of the Industrial Revolution, like urbanization and social changes, and that battle between capitalism and communism. Memory trick for this period, think of RISE, so R-I-S-E, RISE for revolutions, industrialism, that battle between socialism and capitalism, and finally the use of Enlightenment ideals. Unit 6 is all about imperialism, and this is from 1750 to 1900. This unit really explains how European nations dominated much of Africa and Asia and what they're doing in these countries. Causes are going to be things like industrialism, right, where they're looking for raw sources to make into goods or places to dump off these goods. We're also looking at nationalism, right, that pride in one's sense of country and spreading that. We're also looking at social Darwinism. You should also know about the effects of imperialism, so things like economic exploitation, as well as resistance movements that are taking place, like the Zulu Rebellion that takes place in South Africa, as well as the Sepoy Rebellion in India. Again, check out the Unit 6 deep dive videos for more information on those if you want more. For this unit, think scramble for Africa. So scramble, S-C-R-A-M-B-L. S is for that scramble, so that was for Africa, so that is European nations dividing up the land of Africa. C is the colonies that are being put in place and spreading throughout the world. R is that fight for resources. A is the abuse that is taking place. M is missionaries. B are the borders that are being created. L is the use of labor, and E is exploitation. All right, that was a real fast run through there. And then we have units 7, 8, and 9, which really are focusing on global conflicts and the modern world from 1900 to present. So you have 2 world wars that take place in that period. So, right, Unit 7's like World War I post-war. Unit 8 is World War II and post-war. We see decolonization taking place, the growth of globalization, and this is where we're going to see those more stable building blocks for the world as we know it today. For World War I and World War II, you should know the causes of both. Your causes of World War I, right, are militarism, imperialism, alliances, and nationalism, or your four main causes. You should also know your causes of World War II, so right, appeasement, right? World nations are not wanting to get into another global conflict, so they are going to do what they can to appease Hitler in his land grabs in the Sudeten and the Rhineland. But you should also know the effects that take place after that World War II conflict. Those effects are, right, the Cold War, the birth of the United Nations, and decolonization. Decolonization, right, is world powers are now giving up their colonies because they're now overstretched and can't take care of them. You're going to see big movements in India. So this is going to be Gandhi and his nonviolent resistance. And then we're also going to see things take place in Africa as well throughout all the nations trying to kick out European powers. With modern globalization, this is going to be the rise of technology, economic systems, again, that battle between capitalism and socialism. So again, if you really need some further understanding, check out that Unit 6 dive on capitalism and socialism, and then environmental issues that are taking place in the modern world. And then again, check out those deep dives for Units 7, 8, and 9 for a little bit more in on those topics. So that's just a brief overview of what you should know for those topics. Now on to test-taking strategies. For multiple choice questions, eliminate obvious wrong answers, and make sure that you are thoroughly reading the questions and looking out for words like except and not. Context also matters, so please make sure that you are double checking for time period. Questions usually flow chronologically. The other thing to make sure is for the most correct answer. So that process of elimination can help with that as well. Again, make sure that you're closely reading so you understand the questions that you are getting so you can answer them best that you can. Again, you will have 55 questions and 55 minutes to answer them, so you're going to need to move quickly. Your next question is your short answer questions or your SAQs. Make sure that you're using the ACE method. So the ACE method is you're answering the question, you're citing evidence from your studies, and then you're going to explain how it supports your answer. Bullet points can help you kind of get that information out there concisely, but again, making sure that you're making some sort of assertion or answer to that question, that you're bringing in that historical evidence, and then you're telling why. If this helps one of my students, I would always tell them to make sure that you're writing your answers to somebody who has never studied the topic. Yes, the graders are coming from historians and professionals who know their stuff, but to make sure that you cover the topic as best as possible, gear your answers for your friend who's not in the class. I would always say gear them towards my kid who has no interest in history. If I can hand it off to them and they understand the question, you answered it, you fully answered it. So make sure that you're gearing those answers to somebody who's never had any touch with the material. Again, that ACE method is making sure that you are answering the question, you're citing the material, so you're bringing in your evidence, and then you are explaining why it answers. Next are your DBQs or your document-based questions. Make sure that you are practicing the time limit. It is so many students get there to that essay and they've not practiced writing or even typing fast, and that sometimes is what gets them. So if you haven't been timing yourself, make sure you're timing yourself. Find out whether you're taking the paper test or the online test. If you're taking the paper test, start timing yourself writing for 45 minutes. Get some prompts. If you need some prompts, you can find them on my Teacher Paid Teacher site. History Gardens, same name. I've got a bunch of prompts up there. And just time yourself. See how far you get in 45 minutes. And if it's not far, put it away, go do something else, try again, because the faster that you can get that out, the better. Again, if you're on that typing one, time yourself typing. I know myself in high school, I wasn't a fast typer, so I would have needed to practice. So if you were doing the typing essay, make sure that you're timing out how fast you can type, and make sure that you are getting that in a timely manner. But also with the DBQ, make sure that you're taking that 15-minute planning period and using it seriously to help you lay out your outline for the essay. I would say make sure that you've got a direction to go before you start writing, because if you don't have a direction, that can also slow you down. So make sure that you read the prompt thoroughly and you understand the question before you move on to the documents. That way you can already start to pull that thesis that you want to use to help you with proving that prompt. And then use the HIPPO method. So H, make sure that you're looking at the historical context of the primary or secondary source. Make sure that you know who the intended audience is, that you know what the purpose of the piece is, the point of view of the author, and then how are you going to use it? So O is your organization. How are you going to use it in your essay to help support evidence for your thesis on that DBQ? Next is your LEQ. So this is your long essay question. This one, they're going to give you the choice of a couple prompts and you get to free write. Again, I would make sure that you've timed yourself writing so that you know what that feels like, so you're not freezing for that time period. But when you're doing your LEQ, pick the time period that you know or you feel the most comfortable about, or you know the most about, because then you're going to be able to get a lot written out for that particular essay. Use the model, or THE. Make sure that you set up a thesis, that you're giving historical evidence, and you explain the connection. So the model is very much so like the ACE. You make your assertion or plant your thesis. Give your citations, so your historical evidence, and then explain. Again, you won't be given documents for this one, so you don't have to cite, but make sure that you're bringing in as much as you remember from class, from lectures, from videos about that time period, about the topic, and then explain why it's important. Explain how it answers your question. Tell the reader why that evidence matters. Again, much like your other essays, aim this towards someone who knows nothing about the material. Again, I find that has helped me in my writing, especially for these types of questions, that if you are aiming to make sure that people who've never touched the material understand, you will have a better explanation. All right, so that's a wrap. I was super fast, but here's what we covered. We covered units 1 through 9, just a real quick breakdown, general of what you should know. If you need to go back and listen, go back and listen. If you need to go back and listen to those summaries on this playlist, please go back and listen to those units 1 through 9 summaries, as well as the deep dives that are there. They're there to help you understand a topic better. Also, if there's something that you don't see that you would like to know more about, leave a comment. Let me know. I will definitely make some more videos. We went over some memory tricks and mnemonics. So again, go back and review those bigger unit ones with those mnemonics. There's some of them out there that are a little silly that should help you remember. I went over some test taking strategies, and again, if you've been following through all the other videos, I have some test taking strategies at the end of each video, so review those as well as what we just went over. And then again, the AP test isn't about memorizing everything. You can't memorize everything. Nobody has everything memorized. It's more about being able to recognize a pattern and making connections to where you're at historically. So if you see colonialization, can you tell me what's going on at the beginnings of colonialization? Can you tell me what's going on, the time period of which the question's being answered? And can you tell me what's going on now with colonialization? Is that happening? Yeah, it is. But can you describe it? Can you make those connections? Can you give me those causes and effects? So make sure that you are able to see those patterns. Again, it's not about memorizing everything. It's about using your skills, your knowledge and your ability to make connections. You guys, you've got this. And I wish you all the luck, and we'll see you next time.